Month is not only an opportunity for her to spend more time with her Muslim friends, but also to educate other classmates about her religion and customs.
They respect us for our beliefs and our religion, and they understand why we fast and what we believe. And usually they just some of them are curious. They come up to me and ask me, why aren't you guys eating? It's because we celebrate Ramadan, we fast until 6 o'clock to 8.
Now, although Muslims living here in the U.S. say they definitely miss their families back home, especially during the month of Ramadan, they are encouraged that there's a growing support system here in America.
So many million miles over space and time, there is only one girl. From a treetop towards the sunset.
To our audience, welcome back to the studio with my guest, Mr. Musa Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Musa.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Of course, I'd like to welcome you here in Saudi Arabia, and I know that you have a marvelous story to be revealed to our audience today during this holy month, to be like a guide for the ones whom are just about to convert to have another religion. But I'd like to have the story from you. Just tell me in brief about the beginnings.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
You are very welcome.
I have a short story. I converted to Islam quite a while ago. I met my first Muslim after my military experience. I experienced Islam by traveling in the Middle East. I got to know Muslims, but still didn't know anything about the religion of Islam. And when I returned back to the United States...
So you're originally from the United States?
United States, yes. I'm from Akron, Ohio, small little city in northeastern Ohio.
Yes.
Northern states.
Yeah.
And I grew up there. As I said, when I returned from my military service, I enrolled in college.
Yes.
And that's where I met my first Muslim and had a relationship with him. It was a friend.
Yeah.
And I worked in the English Language Institute. I was a language partner. And I used to speak with him for approximately an hour a day in English so he could practice his English. And it was very interesting because during that time in my life, I had stopped practicing Christianity.
Stopped practicing Christianity?
I stopped.
Stopped?
I stopped. I didn't know why, but it was just something inside of me that it didn't make sense that I could worship a man.
Yeah.
And so I resigned. I was very active in the church. I resigned my membership from the church. I left. I wrote a letter of resignation.
Yeah.
I used to ask my pastor, I used to ask him questions. I asked him a question about some of the verses in the Bible. In particular, there's a verse in Isaiah where it says, I am the Lord thy God, and besides me there's none else, no one else.
This is in the Bible?
It's in the Bible.
Yes.
And I asked him about the verse. I said, okay, the Bible says that there's only one God. He's the only God, and there's nothing like him. And the next verse said, there's nothing like me. God was speaking, and he said, there's nothing like me.
Yes.
And so I asked him, I said, well, okay, if there's nothing like God, how can Jesus be God? And he said, well, it's a Trinity. And I said, but people saw Jesus. Jesus healed the sick. He raised the dead. He walked among the people.
Yeah, the miracles.
And the miracles. And the Bible says no one has seen Jesus at any time. I mean, God at any time. Excuse me. No one has seen God at any time.
Yeah.
So I asked him, and he said, well, he gave me an answer that didn't satisfy my curiosity. And this doubt led me to leave the church.
So this is the beginning. This question or those wonderings were the beginning of your conversion?
Yes, exactly. It was the beginning of my conversion. And so I left the church. And as I said, I went to college. And during this time, I didn't practice any religion. I was a typical American youth. You know, have fun and live your life and don't worry about religion.
Yeah.
And one day when I was speaking to Abdul Hadi, he asked me, he said,
This is the Kuwaiti friend.
The Kuwaiti friend that I used to be his tutor and
Yeah.
language partner.
Yes.
He asked me one day, he said, "You seem like a nice gentleman. You're a really nice guy." And I said, "Thank you." He said, "What's your religion?"
Yeah.
He asked me right away, he said, "What is your religion?"
After your resignation from the church?
I was just floating, listless. No religion, I didn't practice anything, I didn't care, just have fun. But I was in college studying in English, an English program.
Yes.
And he asked me, he said, "What's your religion?" And I told him,
You felt
I don't
this
have
mi-
one.
You felt mess?
I had a void in my heart. I had an emptiness.
Yeah.
And I told him, "I don't have a religion." He said, "What? You don't have a religion? You must. Do you believe in God?" He asked me. I
Yes.
said, "Of course, I believe in God, but I don't believe in organized religion." I said, "I used to be a Christian."
Yeah.
And I said it
Used
like
to
this.
be.
I said, "I used to be a Christian, but I don't believe in that anymore."
Yes.
And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Because there's no way that God could be a man."
Yeah.
And he said, "Guess what? You're right." He told me, "You are right." And for the first time, I heard those words. Someone said, "You are right." Because everyone else told me, "What are you doing? You're leaving your religion?"
Yeah.
My family, in the beginning, it was very hard because before I converted to Islam, my family's a very religious Christian family.
Yeah.
And when I stopped practicing, and
And some families are racist.
some, but my
Your family was in the middle, but they are religious people.
religious people, but Christians.
Yeah.
But it was understood in my family that we would always live and die as Christians.
Yeah.
We would always live and die as Christians. And so he told me, he said, "You're right." And for the first time, I had the idea, I believed in the idea. I had the idea, but I just didn't know where to find it.
Yeah.
So he told me, he said, "Have you ever heard of the Quran?" And I said, "Yeah, I read it."
Yeah.
He said, "You read the Quran?" And I told him, I said, "Yes, I read the Quran when I was 15 years old. I checked,
15 years old, you started reading the Quran?
right, I took it out from the library, I checked it out from the library, and I read it in English. It was an English
This
translation.
was in your school?
Yeah, my high school. Yeah, I checked it
So
out.
in the schools, you mean that in the schools they used to put these holy books like Bible,
Oh, right,
Quran,
right.
and the other?
Yeah, right, you can find any holy
So that's
scripture.
good. There is a kind of democracy just to reveal these books, and you have the chance and the choice to get that or this.
Absolutely. America, one of the founding principles of the country, according to our Constitution and preamble, freedom of religion.
That's right.
And
So you read in the Quran.
yeah, I read the Quran. And
You read the Quran or in the Quran?
I read the whole thing,
The whole thing?
yes,
MashaAllah.
when I was 15. And, but my grandfather had an adverse reaction. He said,
Yeah.
I showed my grandfather, I said, "Look at this book. It has Jesus in it, it has Muhammad, it has, who's Muhammad? But it has Moses." You know, I kind of skipped over Muhammad because I didn't know who he was.
Yes.
And so my grandfather said, no, take this book back to the library. You can't read this book. This isn't from our religion.
Yeah.
So I obeyed my grandfather and I took it back, and that was it for a while. But like I said, I went to the military and I started to had experiences and meet Muslims.
What was your position in the military?
I was in the infantry, a soldier.
Soldier?
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps.
Marine? Yeah.
And so when I got back from my service, I met Abdul Hadi, and he
Yeah.
told me, "You're right, you're right."
About your wanderings, he told you that you're right, that a God cannot be a man or
Absolutely,
cannot be represented through a man.
absolutely. And so he said, "You hear about Islam?" And I said, "No." He said, "Did you read the Quran?" I said, "Yes."
Yes.
Then he said, "Well, that's the book of Muslims. This is the holy book of Islam." I said, "Islam?" He said, "Yes, it's a religion." I said, "It's a religion?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yes." I said, "Tell me more." And the first thing, of course, that he told me was that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad ﷺ is his messenger. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head, if I can
Inshallah.
use the cliche. I can't describe the feeling, because I instantly knew that it was true. And he said, God has no partners. So I asked him, I said, how many is he? How many is Allah? And I knew he was going to say either 3 or
Yeah.
360,000, like the Hindus believe in 360,000 gods.
Yeah.
And he said 1.
Just one.
He
Yes.
said 1, and I
Yeah.
said, oh, this is it. I felt it. My heart, raced, because I had read it in the scriptures. I had read it in the Bible. God is one. God is unique. And here was a man.
This is the first information that met your idea about the God.
Right. And he told me, this is Allah. And I said, after he told me that, I said, I want to be a Muslim.
Immediately?
Immediately. He said, do you want to be a Muslim right now? I said, right now. I want to be a Muslim. He said, okay, go home, take a shower. I went home and took a shower and came back. And I took my Shahada actually in the library on our campus. I took my Shahada. I met with a few other Muslims, and I
Who
professed
told you the Shahada?
Uh,
Abdul Hadi?
Abdul Hadi, actually the one who, another gentleman from Kuwait. There were a lot of Kuwaiti students at this time at my university. He was the acting imam. His name is Muhammad al-Suri, and he gave me my Shahada. He gave me my Shahada.
Can you say it, please?
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Yeah, no. And that was a while ago.
What happened to your heart while saying Shahada? You
It's hard
said
to
that
describe, but
your heart started to just
Raise.
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 Yes, the palms of your heart raised.
Raised
So
because
what about this? Is just when you knew that the idea of having just one God did that with your heart. What
Yes.
about while saying Shahada?
yes, I didn't understand the words, but they translated it to me. At that time, I didn't understand the words. I didn't speak any Arabic or anything.
So what do you think about that translation of Shahada?
Doesn't do it justice, but the meaning is there, that there's only one God worthy of worship, and that is Allah, and then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger, his last and final messenger.
It's a kind of confess.
Yes, a confession and a profession at the same time, because
Yes.
we profess that we believe in the oneness of Allah,
Yes.
and that we won't overstep this boundary,
Yes.
this belief, this creed,
Yes.
and that we will follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
It's the first pillar of Islam.
Absolutely, and the most important. And this was the one that revolutionized my life. It changed my life, because before Islam, I was a typical American youth, coming home from the military. I was very young. I was, 22 years old. And frankly speaking, kind of lost. I was lost. I didn't have any guidance. And I realize that now. And it was only because of the gift, as you presented, the gift from heaven, the gift from Allah, that he guided us. And I always thought that when I learned what Abdul Hadi means, the servant of the one who guides,
Yes.
it meant even so much more to me.
It comes from Hidayah. It means the guidance.
Yes.
So Allah is our guide.
Yes.
So we are the worshippers of the guide. So he is the servant of the guide, Abdul Hadi. This is the actual meaning of this name.
Right.
But I'd like you to tell the audience about, just in one word, Musa was so before Islam and became so after Islam.
Just one word.
Just, okay, one sentence.
One sentence. After Islam, I became a much better person. A much better person. A more serious person,
Serious.
but a much better person.